girl whose overwork in Japan led to her death. Dahlia is then reborn into a world filled with magic. Raised by a master of magical toolmaking, she develops a passion for the craft and becomes engaged to her father's apprentice. However, before her father can see her wed, he suddenly passes away. As if this weren't enough, on the day before their wedding, her fiancé announces that he loves someone else. Our first episode of this new anime begins with a girl at work, looking exhausted. She then loses consciousness and tells us that the last thing she saw and felt was the touch of her office desk. She couldn't accomplish a single thing she wanted to, and if there was another life after death, she would want to explore it eagerly. Then she dies. In another life, we see the girl reincarnated as a beautiful little girl with red hair named Dahlia. We see Dahlia approach her father while he's working and ask him what he's doing and what those things in front of him. Her father tells her that this device is a magical device, and magical devices are used for magical purposes. In this land, everyone uses them in their daily lives because magical devices make everyone's life easier. They can cool or warm up rooms, generate light from nothing using a magic firestone, or produce a flowing stream of water using a magic waterstone. Cleaning can be done quickly using a magic windstone. Combining things like magic stones in clever ways creates useful magical devices. Dahlia asks her father if these devices are different from magic. Her father explains that only a limited number of people can use magic well, but anyone can use magical devices. He then takes the device and makes Dahlia turn it on. Butterflies appear around them, and Dahlia is very happy with the sight. Her father tells her that this device was made by magical device craftsmen. Dahlia asks her father if she can also make magical devices like that. Her father tells her that she can, but she needs to study first, and when she grows up and becomes a magical craftsman one day, Dahlia gets very excited about this. Then we see a girl named Irma looking at Dahlia's drawing, which she calls Dahlia's space. Irma tells Dahlia that the drawing is amazing. When Dahlia's father realizes that Irma is there, he welcomes her, and Irma apologizes for coming during his work time. He then tells them to go outside to play because he wants to focus on his work. Dahlia tells him that she wanted to read the monster guide with him. Irma looks at Dahlia and tells her that they should go play and leave her father's workplace. Then we see Dahlia's father holding Dahlia's drawing, saying that Dahlia is ahead of her time. Suddenly, Mrs. Sophia appears behind him and tells him that Dahlia will be very angry if he touches her things without her permission. That drawing is very important to her. She grabs a paper and tells him she has thought of a new magical device, a hair-drying device. By using both a firestone and a windstone together, the warm wind would help dry hair quickly. She finishes the drawing and gives it to her father for his opinion. Her father tells her that she can't make it now, but one day when she grows up, she will be able to because she needs a bit of experience first. At the end of the day, the father leaves and tells Mrs. Sophia to take care of Dahlia. The father returns home and asks Mrs. Sophia what Dahlia is doing. Mrs. Sophia tells him that Dahlia played a little in the garden and then went to continue playing in her room. She informs him that she has prepared his meal and then leaves. While the father is drinking tea, he hears his daughter Dahlia screaming. He rushes to her room and sees the room on fire with Dahlia looking very scared. He quickly moves her away and uses a magical device to extinguish the fire. Then he asks her if she is okay. Dahlia cries a lot, and her father looks around and sees the magic stones. He tells her that she cannot use magic stones unless he is beside her. Dahlia apologizes and tells him that she wanted to make a magical device secretly, but when she put the magic stones in the hairdryer, the fire burned the place. He tells her that he understands her feelings, but she must be careful because making magical devices is dangerous, and there are many things she hasn't learned yet. He reassures her that he is by her side and tells her that they will make some magical devices together. Dahlia is deeply moved by her father's words, hugs him tightly, and cries, apologizing for what she did. We then see Dahlia with her father as he uses a fire magic device. He tells her that this device can't be used for drying hair, but the concept isn't bad. If they use a magic circle to limit the magical energy, the device could produce warm. Dahlia tells him that she wants the device to blow both cool and warm air. Her father agrees and goes inside to figure out how to make the device. He tells her that he wants to make the device's frame from a very strong material. Dahlia asks if it's possible to control the device's speed to produce both strong and gentle winds. Her father says that's possible. If they adjust the power of the wind magic stone, it won't be too difficult. Then we see Dahlia and her father making the device together. When they finish, Dahlia takes a bath and approaches her father with wet hair. Her father turns on the device and dries her hair, then hands her a comb to brush her hair. When she finishes, Dahlia is very happy with the device. Her father tells her that there are no anomalies in the magic circles and no issues with the magic stones, meaning the device is complete. They sit together and drink their favorite beverages. Then Mrs. Sophia arrives, greets them, and asks why they are up so early. At that moment, Miss Sophia arrives and greets them, noticing they are up early. Dahlia runs to her and hugs her, saying, "Thanks to God, we finished making the hairdryer." But she falls asleep immediately. Her father says, "It seems she's fallen asleep. We stayed up all night." Miss Sophia gets angry and says, "How could you let a child her age stay up all night? Are you even a father?" He tries to explain, saying it wasn't intentional, but they were making a magical device together and lost track of time. He then carries Dahlia and lays her on the bed to rest. He apologizes to Miss Sophia, who tells him not to apologize but expresses her concern for Dahlia. She says that if he doesn't act responsibly, who will? He reassures her, saying he loves his daughter more than anything in the world and won't let it happen again. Miss Sophia looks at the hairdryer Dahlia made and can't believe she made it herself. Her father tells her that Dahlia is naturally talented and incredibly intelligent, perhaps even more than him. He says it just takes time, but she will become truly skilled and the world will see it. The next morning, the weather is wonderful. Dahlia wakes up, puts on her beautiful glasses, and thinks about the next device she will invent. Her father arrives and she greets him warmly. He apologizes for being late, explaining that he met an old friend and got caught up in their conversation. Then he asks her, "Are you finally trying to figure out how the crystal fairy lamp works?" She replies, "No, Dad. It's still too early for that lamp. Even though I understand the structure used, I can't manage a consistent magical energy flow like that yet. I think the road is still long before I become a real craftsman." Her father tells her that if she works hard, studies, and perfects her skills, she will be able to do anything. She gets up and says, "Dad, let's go and have breakfast." The scene shifts to the kitchen where they're preparing breakfast together. The breakfast looks wonderful. While they eat, he asks her if she has thought of any new magical devices. She says she has had many ideas, but only thought through some of them in detail. After finishing her meal, she puts on her backpack and gets ready to visit her friend Irma. She bids her father goodbye, and he reminds her not to be late. Dahlia runs off, her eyes filled with hope. She knows the road ahead is long, and she still lacks some skills, but she is determined. The journey is not easy and requires training and experience, which her father will provide. He hopes she will become even better than him, because he loves her very much. One day, with God's will, she will reach her goal. She will do everything and become a magical craftsman who can bring joy to everyone, just like her father. With Dahlia returning home and telling her father that Ms. Elena showed them today some magic lamps used by the guards on their night patrols. These lamps are made with silver firefly wings, and their color depends on the land they came from. When she looks at her father, she sees a handsome young man named Tobias from Orlando Trading Company, who has been helping her father for some time. Dahlia greets Tobias, who tells her to call him just Tobias without any titles and expresses his happiness to her. Later, we see Dahlia outside the house on a rainy night, and Ivano comes rushing over. Dahlia thanks him for always helping her father, and Ivano tells her not to say that because her father is the one who takes care of him. He then asks her what brought her there, and she tells him that her father asked her to deliver some documents. Ivano suggests they go inside and rest since it's raining heavily. They go inside and drink tea together. When the rain stops, Dahlia returns home and sees her father drenched from the rain. Her father tells her that he was able to see the heavy rain approaching. He asks her if she understands what he means, as he saw the boundary between where it was raining and where it wasn't coming closer, so he thought that if he ran, he might be able to outrun it. So he and Tobias ran as fast as they could, but the rain was too fast and caught up with them. Dahlia tells him that he can't outrun the rain, even if he sees it coming. Tobias tells her that they didn't get too wet thanks to her father's coats. Then Dahlia tells them that she will take their clothes to the cleaners tomorrow, because if they don't dry, they will start to smell bad. Suddenly, an idea comes to her mind to create something more effective against rain than her father's coats. Her father and Tobias are surprised, and she tells them that the coat she will make will have a useful, lightweight fabric that repels water from the body, and she will call it a raincoat. The next morning, we see Dahlia planning on paper to create the raincoat and deciding to use slime. Tobias tells her that he has never heard of using slime as a material for magic infusion. Dahlia tells him that she tried many materials but they didn't work, so she thought about it. And although slime might be weak in terms of magic, she has an idea. Tobias asks her how she intends to apply it to the fabric. Dahlia explains that when she pierced the core of the slime and passed Kraken tape through the hole, the materials didn't disintegrate. She plans to do that, dry it, turn it into a powder, dissolve it in some liquid, and then fix it to the fabric. Currently, she is thinking of experimenting with different types of slime. Dahlia says that the blue slime powder clings to the fabric but doesn't spread over large areas. So she plans to experiment with the stickier green slime. We then see Dahlia sitting with her friends, and they tell her she always talks about slime. Dahlia explains that the green slime sticks to larger areas, but the blue slime is more water resistant. She tells them she will try a different liquid next time and gives them samples of the slime to try. She then tells Tobias that his method of applying magic is amazing. Tobias responds, "Don't make fun of me. I'm part of a company responsible for distributing goods, and some people find it strange." After some time, Dahlia falls asleep on the book, and her father comes down and covers her. The next day, her father suggests that instead of using just one type of solvent, she might try mixing them. Dahlia mixes the blue and green slime, uses her magic, and sees that it has adhered to the fabric. She then gives the fabric to her father. It was dissolved in the liquid to compensate for the blue slime's lack of stickiness, which made it cling to the fabric. "It's a very good magical device." "Bravo, my dear," her father exclaimed. Then Tobias called out to her, "We still have more experiments to conduct. We don't know if it was applied evenly or how long it will last. So we need to be more cautious and work harder to produce the right material." Dahlia agreed, "You're right, Tobias. But I'm curious to see if it will maintain its properties under harsh conditions. Also, the slime might come off at the stitching points and attachment areas, but I've already thought of a plan to address that. If we add a different powder to the attachment points beforehand, it might solve this issue." 2 days later, it was officially registered as Dahlia Rossetti's invention. A perfectly waterproof fabric and raincoats made from it. What wonderful magical devices. I imagine the orders will come flooding in, she thought. With Dahlia leaving the house and going to Tobias, apologizing for her lateness as she didn't know he was waiting for her. He asks her about the marriage papers, and she tells him she hasn't signed them yet. As Dahlia starts to sign, Tobias tells her to stop and apologizes, informing her that he wants to break off their engagement because he has found his true love, Amelia Tallini, the receptionist at Orlando Trading Company. Dahlia understands and agrees to break off the engagement, then leaves. The scene shifts to Dahlia with Irma and Marcela, who are angry with Dahlia because Tobias is living in Dahlia's house with his new fiancé, whom he cheated on her with. They describe him as despicable since they have been engaged for over 2 years, and this is his response. Dahlia thanks them for being upset on her behalf, and Irma expresses relief that she didn't marry such a man. They suggest eating and enjoying time together, and Dahlia tells them she will go to the trade union to officially break off the engagement and move her things out of the new house. Marcela offers to handle it for her and asks for her house key to move the furniture. Dahlia thanks them very much. Dahlia leaves and goes to the trade union, where we see Dahlia and Tobias completing the procedures to break off the engagement. The union manager informs them that they will begin canceling the contract and settle any joint accounts according to the terms of their engagement agreement. Gabriela Geider, the vice president of the union, is present as a witness. Ivano Padur is the contract manager, and Mr. Dominic is the public notary overseeing the proceedings. He informs them that Dahlia and Tobias's joint accounts have been closed and settled. Ivano then states that Tobias must pay 12 gold pieces as compensation to Miss Dahlia regarding the house registered in both their names, which was built during their engagement. If Tobias wants to own it, he must pay Dahlia 50 gold pieces. Tobias agrees and pays 28 gold pieces, explaining that this is all he has and asking Dahlia for more time to pay the remainder. Dominic informs them that changing the name on the property deeds before the full amount is paid can cause issues. He then asks Dahlia what she wants to do. Dahlia decides to change the name after the full payment is made. Tobias becomes angry, feeling embarrassed because he had told Amelia that he could live with her in the house immediately. Dominic reassures Tobias that the trade union will lend him the money until he can repay it. Gabriella advises Tobias that if he plans to live with his new partner in the house, he should manage his affairs carefully to avoid ending up in an embarrassing situation. Tobias thanks them for their advice, and they proceed to sign the contract to cancel the engagement. Afterward, we see Dahlia handing Mr. Ivano the contract papers. Mr. Ivano, not wanting to be rude, asks her if Mr. Tobias had always been this way. Dahlia replies that she had never seen him act like this before. Mr. Dominic and Ms. Gabriella approach, and Dahlia thanks them, saying she couldn't have succeeded without their help. Ms. Gabriella offers to assist Dahlia with the move, saying she will arrange someone for her and will already submit a request at the transport union for that. Suddenly, the door opens, revealing some young people who had been eavesdropping to find out what was happening inside the meeting room. They quickly leave, and Ivano comments that the walls in this meeting room are very thin. In the morning, Dahlia dressed in men's clothing and wore a hat, turning on a voice-changing device to sound like a man. She got into the car, prepared her equipment, and set off for the forest. She was now fully ready. As she drove, she admired the trees, forests, and mountains, exclaiming how beautiful this area is. It seems very peaceful. I love the beauty of nature. In those moments, things took an unexpected turn. Suddenly, her horse stopped, indicating something strange. Dahlia caught her breath, waiting to see what would emerge from the place. Just then, a boy appeared, seemingly injured, and asked her for water. She quickly gave him some water, and he said, "Thank you, I feel like I've come back to life." But he fainted again, with blood covering his body and a wound on his left shoulder. Dahlia hurriedly prepared some medicine, gave it to him, and his wound healed like magic, restoring his health. He apologized to her, saying, "I will make sure to repay you as soon as I return to the royal capital." She replied, "No worries, my friend. Don't trouble yourself with such matters. I am just doing a good deed." He then stood up and introduced himself as a member of the Monster Suppression Knights, named Alfred, the youngest son of a low-ranking noble. "Please, just call me Wolf," he said. She looked at him in shock, and the anime ended on this note. Will Dahlia be charmed by this young man, and will he change her life? The person introducing himself as a member of the Monster Suppression Knights. His name is Wilfred, the youngest son of a low-ranking noble, and he asks her to call him Wilf. Dahlia introduces herself as an ordinary citizen. Wilf then requests her to accompany him to the capital, to which Dahlia agrees immediately. Dahlia notices that Wilf's eyes seem to be hurting, and he explains that some monster blood got into his eye, causing him pain. He mentions he needs to wash it out as soon as possible. Dahlia tells him there's a river nearby and apologizes for only having the driver's seat available, meaning he has to sit next to her. Wilf worries about dirtying the seat with his clothes, but Dahlia reassures him that the seat is covered with water-resistant fabric. They get into the carriage and start moving. Wilf asks her if the fabric is really that useful, and Dahlia explains that they used to have to wax their tents, but now that they have waterproof fabric, life has become much easier. She adds that raincoats made from this fabric are great because they're lightweight. Dahlia comments that they would be even better if they had more ventilation openings. Wilf responds that durability is a key factor, making it difficult to implement such features easily. Dahlia thinks for a moment and suggests that new materials could solve this problem. Wilf apologizes for talking too much, and they soon arrive at the river. Wilf washes his face thoroughly with water, and Dahlia hands him a towel to dry his face. She is captivated by the beauty of his eyes. Wilf mentions he will wash the monster blood off his body, and Dahlia goes to cook some food. She gives him a coat to wear while his clothes dry, explaining that it belonged to her father. Wilf apologizes for causing her so much trouble. Once Dahlia finishes preparing the meal, Wilf wears the coat, and they sit down to eat. Wilf comments that it's been a long time since he's had such delicious food. Dahlia then asks him how his eye feels. He tells her that the pain has subsided, but his vision hasn't fully recovered yet. Dahlia advises him to see a doctor. Then she notices the red armor he was wearing and asks, "Wilf, are you one of the Crimson Shields?" He explains that, being quick-witted, this armor is suitable for attracting the attention of monsters. The only ones who wear red armor in the monster suppression forces are those who lead the first attack against the monsters. They attract a lot of attention and are used as a diversion. All the monster suppression forces do dangerous work, which puts them at risk of death. As they talk, Dahlia remembers her father. Wilf notices and asks if she's forgotten that the coat he's wearing is all he has on now. He jokes that taking it off in front of a young lady in the town might get him in trouble with the guards for acting inappropriately. Dahlia is surprised and tells him not to say such things. Wilf quickly apologizes and explains that he had to say something silly because he noticed she seemed a bit sad. Then, he asks her if she likes magical devices. Dahlia replies that she loves them. It's her source of income. Wilf asks if there are any magical swords available to ordinary citizens. She says she doesn't think such things exist. Only wizards and alchemists can infuse swords with magic. However, she thinks that magical craftsmen do make enchanted knives. Wilf asks what kind of magic is used on the knives. Dahlia tells him that the most common is anti-rust magic, but there's also a popular enchantment for permanent sharp. He remarks that such enchantments would be very useful on a sword, adding that most swords in his unit are enchanted with durability magic, but his sword still broke. Finally, Wilf asks Dahlia if she has ever seen a magical sword before. He mentions that he once saw a magical flame sword at the trade guild, but it was sheathed since no one could draw it. He expresses a desire to see a magical flame sword, saying the most impressive one he's seen is the one carried by the leader of the monster suppression forces. It is called Ash Hand, and it burns anything it pierces to ashes immediately. No one else can wield it. Otherwise, anyone other than the owner will burn if it is unsheathed. Dahlia thinks to herself, I bet he knows that from experience. Then he tells her that there are also 2 famous magical swords in the castle without masters. Since there is no one worthy of them, no one can wield them. When I first joined the knights, I tried to draw them but failed. Dahlia asks, is it about magical compatibility, or are there other special requirements? Wilf tells her that for the 2 swords in the castle, it's said to be a matter of nobility of spirit or a strong sense of duty. I wish I had the social standing required to show them to you, Dahlia. No worries, she says, just talking about them was fun, and I appreciate that. It will be the foundation for future works, but we should get going now. We still have a long way to go to the royal capital. Not they ride in the carriage and start the journey. Dahlia suggests that since the trip will take some time, Wilf should sleep until they arrive. They drink sodas, which Wilf enjoys a lot. On the way, it starts to rain heavily. They reach the capital, and Wilf gets out of the carriage. Dahlia tells him, you can keep the coat. I don't want you to catch a cold. It's made of sand lizard skin, so it's good against the rain. Wilf thanks her profusely and says he will borrow it for now, and reminds her that she saved his life today. He wouldn't be alive without her. He then asks where she lives so he can visit and pay her back for everything. Dahlia tells him not to worry about it since she's already reaped the benefits of his work in suppressing monsters. Consider it a citizen's support. If you see me around town, just say hi. I'll definitely accept your offer then. They bid each other farewell with smiles on their faces. Then Dahlia heads home, takes off her hat, and says, what a busy day. But I'm very happy that I could help this person. The capital is so big that we may never meet again. I hope Mr. Wolf's eye heals well. The scene then shifts to Wilfred, who says, I've noted everything in my report. The manager replied, you took down a wyvern, so you've earned the title of Dragon Slayer. Since you dealt the final blow, there won't be any issues. Wilfred responded. The unit managed to wound it first. It was weakened when I finished it off. The manager insisted, I believe it's time for you to bear that title. I'll write a recommendation letter for the Royal Guard. Wilfred said, I hope you don't. The next time I catch a wyvern, I'd prefer not to be linked to the event. The manager, somewhat annoyed, told him, take a break until your eyes are fully healed. Wilfred then requested, could you send a letter of introduction to the trading guild? I want to thank the person who saved me with that potion. He's benefiting from our monster hunting, so we don't need to thank him. The manager replied, wait, I'll write the letter of introduction right away. Wilfred took the letter and left, with Dahlia taking off her glasses and saying, I don't know if the church can restore sight. I should have done this earlier, but it's expensive. Then she looks up and sees a boy approaching her and asking, are you a member of Mr. Daly's family? Dahlia asks him, how did you know that? He tells her that her way of averting her eyes from him is very strange. In addition to the color of her eyes and her scent, it was the same scent he smelled in the carriage. He then asks if he can sit with her to talk for a bit, and Dahlia agrees. He tells her that he was on his way to the trade guild looking for her and intended to ask if they knew someone matching her description. He wanted to repay her for the potion and return the coat. He invites her to visit his house sometime and Dahlia agrees. They order a cold drink and he continues talking, telling Dahlia that when he saw her in the forest, he didn't realize she was so beautiful. Dahlia thanks him very much for the kind words. He asks her if she is from a noble family, and Dahlia tells him that her father was an honorable baron. She also tells him that it is tiring to continue complimenting women he doesn't know. He then asks her why she was disguised as a man when he saw her. She tells him that it is not safe for a woman to be alone in the forest, so she was forced to do so. Then the drinks arrive, and they drink and start eating. During that time, Dahlia asks him about his eyes, and he tells her they are somewhat okay, but he cannot see clearly with them. When Dahlia starts eating, he tells her that the meat is from the scarlet nymphs, which is very common lately. Dahlia tastes it and tells him they need more drinks as well, and they laugh. He then asks her if her father scolded her because of the coat he took from her. She tells him that her father passed away some time ago. He apologizes to her and tells her he will wash it and return it to her as soon as possible. Dahlia tells him that the lining is made of wyvern material. She added it to enhance the coat for her father when he wore it, because it used to get stuck with a lot of things. Will asks her, "Do you work in the clothing field or a field related to raw materials?" Dahlia tells him, "My name is Dahlia Rossetti, and I have recently started my career as a magical artisan. I am the one who invented the waterproof fabric, and now I am thinking about creating a lighter one that allows for more ventilation." As their drinks finish, he tells her he will go to order more, and then he leaves. Suddenly, Amelia arrives, followed by Dahlia's ex-fiancé, who tells Amelia there is no need to inform Dahlia of anything. Amelia insists that she must tell Dahlia because their engagement was broken off because of her. While they are talking, we see Will approaching Dahlia and telling her that since her engagement has been broken off, he invites her to his house again and would be very grateful if she accepts. Amelia asks Dahlia who he is, and Will introduces himself, saying, "I am Wilfred Scalvarado of the Royal Knights." He then looks at Dahlia again and asks her to accompany him, and they leave. He then suggests they go somewhere else, and Dahlia agrees since she wasn't fully satisfied yet. They enter a restaurant, and Will places a triangular device on the table, telling her it's an anti-eavesdropping device, so no one can listen to their conversation. Dahlia expresses her happiness about this, but wonders why the son of an earl cannot speak freely. Will explains that he doesn't intend to end his family's legacy, but he feels he hasn't contributed anything useful to his family's history. Being the youngest, he was left alone without anyone guarding or monitoring him, and he isn't very comfortable with formalities. Dahlia tells him she doesn't know any noble etiquette, so she asks him for a suitable and easy way for him to speak. Then she asks him how the anti-eavesdropping device was made. Wilfred told her that he had heard about a device that masks sounds with other sounds, thus canceling each other out. He asked if she made such things too. She replied that she only invents devices for daily use and that such a device falls under the domain of wizards. After that, Wilfred began to stare at her, and she asked him, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" He replied, "Nothing. You just looked extremely happy while looking at the magical device." Her face turned red, and she said, "What's with you? Your behavior changed drastically a moment ago. You surprised me." He then told her that he admired her a lot and loved looking into her beautiful eyes and thanked God for finding her. Then he smiled faintly and told her he had wanted so much to talk to her and meet her. They then ate fresh food and talked together. He asked her, "When you mix a device with magic, is it usually just one type of magic or more?" Dahlia replied, "Usually. It's one type per device. Applying more than one type is within the realm of wizards and alchemists, but when more than one device is used, I think they layer the magic to ensure they don't clash with each other or cause interference." Wilfred said, "I see. I thought maybe cleaning and strengthening magic could be cast on a sword, along with something like weight reduction." Dahlia paused for a moment and then said, "You can change the sword's guard and sheath." He said yes, because they sometimes break. From this, Dahlia deduced that the components could be treated as separate items, meaning the parts could be separated and individually enchanted. Strengthening magic could be applied to the blade, cleaning magic to the guard with water or air magic, and weight-reducing magic to the sheath. Then they could be reassembled. Wilfred stood up from his seat very happy and said, "Bravo! That sounds amazing. It will be like a custom-made magical sword, which will make things easier for my unit. I love magical swords a lot. Magical swords and enchanted weapons have dreams associated with them. Even just thinking about them is enjoyable, Dahlia replied. I think so too. I love magical devices so much that I enjoy just thinking about them or watching them on YouTube. He asked, do you mind if I call you just Dahlia and you call me Wilf? She said, okay, call me Dahlia, but it's very hard for me to call you Wilf. He told her that she would get used to it and that he would be very happy when that happens. But let's focus on the important thing. If I bring you a sword, can you try the method of applying the magic we just discussed? She replied, all right, but let's start with a cheap short sword first. As for your name, I'll just call you Wolf without any additions when we're alone. Wolf was very happy and smiled. He was thrilled to have met Dahlia, this skilled, talented, and beautiful girl. Later that evening, they return home and Dahlia says to him, here's this meal. Consider it a token of thanks from me for this wonderful day. She has prepared a delicious and hearty meal, which makes Wilfred very happy. After they finish eating, he insists on washing the dishes himself, saying, don't worry about it. We're here to help each other, and I'm used to this from my time in the army. She then invites him to have some alcohol with her if he has some time. He responded, alcohol dulls the mind and clouds judgment. It's also forbidden. More importantly, if I were to drink it now with just the two of us in the house, we could end up committing something forbidden, and I don't want that to happen, she replied. I allowed you to enter because you're a respectable man, so please don't tempt me, or I might become aroused. He reassured her, don't worry, my dear, and she brought him hibiscus juice instead of wine. After that, he began to talk about himself, revealing that his friendships with other women had fallen apart because they betrayed their husbands. A married woman might say to him, I love you, and I want to be with you. But that is a great betrayal. How can a woman who is married love another man? But when he rejected one such woman, she lied and claimed that he was the one pursuing her, falsely accusing him. Her husband believed her and punched him hard in the face, leading to the collapse of their friendship as well. Dahlia asked him how many times this had happened to him, and he told her that he was used to it. Similar incidents had occurred several times. However, he noted that the woman wasn't a relative, and many people had told him that his beautiful eyes were the reason many women were tempted. She reassured him, all right, my friend, don't worry about it. From today on, you'll walk among people and no one will despise you again. She then decided to make him magical glasses to change the appearance of his eyes. Dahlia told him, I'll mix the glasses with this fairy crystal, to which Wilfred responded, a fairy crystal like the lamp we saw in the shop today. Dahlia explained that fairy crystals have the ability to obscure perception, and she believed she could change how others saw his eyes. This experiment is very difficult, she said, so expect a high chance of failure. I'm sorry to say that after bringing you here, but think of it as a hopeful experiment. Wilfred asked, can I watch you work on it? Dahlia agreed, and she began the experiment. She placed something on the lenses of the glasses and used some form of magic. If I don't align the fairy crystal properly, she said, the perception block will affect the sides of the lenses, and they won't work as glasses. Dahlia then recalled her father's advice. You should talk to the materials while working with them. Ask them where they want to go and what angle they prefer. If you do that, sometimes you and the magical device or materials will understand each other. Back at the present, Dahlia engaged deeply with the materials, asking the fairies, what is your wish? Dahlia says, I want his eyes to be less prominent for his own good. The fairies gather around her and ask, why do you want to hide his eyes when they're so beautiful? Dahlia explains, I want to protect him from greed and malice. I want you to protect him so that he can smile and not be harmed. The fairies agree, saying, we will protect him for you, as long as you take us to the rainbow. The fairies begin to interact with Dahlia and the glasses. She is so engrossed in the experiment that sweat covers her entire face. Wilfred suggests maybe it would be better to take a break, but Dahlia asks him to please be quiet so she can focus on crafting the other lens. She then starts working on the second lens, completing the experiment just as she did with the first. After a great deal of effort, she finally finishes both lenses and hands the glasses to Wilfred to try on. Wilfred puts them on and says, I can see everything clearly. Nothing is too bright. Dahlia asks him to look in the mirror. When he does, he sees that the color of his eyes has changed with the glasses on. Dahlia apologizes, saying, some of my father's traits have rubbed off on me. Do you think you'll be able to walk around town without a hood now that you have these? Wilfred replies, yes, I think so, and then thanks her profusely for what she's done. He tells her, I don't care what price you ask, to which Dahlia, surprised, responds, no, it's just a prototype made from leftover materials. Please lift your head. He then asks her how much it would cost to make new glasses. Dahlia tells him that the cost of the glasses, including the lenses in production, would be around 3 large silver pieces. But considering that fairy glass alone costs 3 gold pieces. Wilfred says, I understand and I'll prepare that amount for you soon. Dahlia quickly responds, no, don't worry about it. As I said, this is just a prototype. Would you prefer to have a second pair of glasses just in case? He replies, I would be happy to have another pair, but I don't want you to go through all that trouble again. Dahlia then asks him, when you have to fight a monster twice, isn't the second time easier? He agrees, and she continues, it's the same with crafting magical devices. Unlike fighting monsters, if I fail, I'll only lose consciousness. Although I've exhausted most of my magical energy, it was a successful attempt. The next morning, we see Wilfred walking down the street with his new glasses, saying to himself, finally, I feel like I'm starting to get used to this part of the capital. He finds himself sitting in the same spot where he used to sit with Dahlia, doing so almost unconsciously. Dahlia holding the Kraken tape, saying it's working well and thinking of other ways to use it. She then goes to the refrigerator and tries to magically repair it from the back. While doing so, she thinks of Wolf and hopes he's okay. Then something goes wrong with the refrigerator, causing everything inside to freeze. The scene then shifts to Wolf, who is telling his commander that they can't use fire, nor are they in a place where the wind can easily reach them. It also seems that a goat has been taken from a nearby village, so it's only a matter of time before they start taking people. The commander tells him that he wishes he could handle them all, but it's too difficult and they only have one arm to encircle and attack those villains. Wolf suggests that he takes command, separates from the troops, and will be able to lure the goblins as he wants to finish this as quickly as possible. The commander agrees and tells him that they will move at sunset. Then we see one of the soldiers telling the commander that Wolf's suggestion of this strategy means that he has matured. The commander tells him that he will promote him to a leadership role in his unit. At night, Wolf hunts the goblins, and they prepare dinner and drink. A group of soldiers is seen talking, saying they can't believe Wolf was able to launch such an attack and defeat the goblins. They look forward to seeing what he will do next. The following morning, we see Wolf going to Dahlia carrying a box. She asks him what's inside the box, and we see that it contains meat, fish, vegetables, fruits, cheese, and drinks. He brought her that box as a token of gratitude. The box is also equipped with a magical ice stone, so the food will stay fresh for a few days. Then he enters the house and sees the refrigerator. Dahlia tells him it's just a prototype, and its function is to freeze and preserve food. She will test it in her kitchen first, and if this invention succeeds, she will sell it. But the refrigerator is very heavy, so she plans to ask a friend in the transport guild to move it upstairs to the kitchen. Wolf offers to carry it and tells her that it's very light. He then carries it and places it upstairs. They then sit together to talk, and Dahlia offers to prepare a drink for them. When she looks at the box, she's slightly surprised. Wolf explains that these are drink glasses he brought for her, as she might need them during meals. Dahlia picks up one of the glasses and remarks that it's a high-quality crystal glass infused with magic. She asks about its cost, and Wolf tells her that the glasses weren't very expensive. They only cost him 4 gold coins. Dahlia thanks him profusely for these exquisite glasses. Wolf replies that it's just a small token compared to the glasses she gave him, which have been working perfectly without any issues so far. He suggests she consider selling them as a finished product rather than a prototype. Dahlia tells him that as his friend, she prefers not to receive things without giving something in return. She then approaches him, thanks him for the gifts, and says she was going to sell him the glasses for 2 gold coins, but will now give them to him for free and take the wine glasses as payment. Wolf says he's happy to compensate her fairly for her excellent craftsmanship. Wolf then begins preparing the food. They season the meat and grill it. Wolf mentions that they eat animals and monsters while camping, so he knows some basics of cooking. He then notices a bottle of foaming soap and asks what it is. Dahlia explains that it's another prototype she's working on and plans to give it to her friends to test. She also mentions that she'll be working on creating a magical sword this evening, so she'll eat with him but won't drink. When they finish eating, Dahlia is astonished by how delicious the food is. Wolf tells her that the perfectly adjusted heat of the stove is what made the food so tasty. He compliments her magical stove, saying that if he had one like it during their campaigns, he believes many of his comrades would still be with him now. Dahlia then asks Wolf if something bad happened. He replies that it's not exactly that, but there were people who left the unit because the food didn't suit them. When he thinks about it, he feels regret. As they wait for the food to finish grilling, they notice that its size has shrunk by half. Despite this, they start eating and comment on how appetizing it looks. Dahlia notices that Wolf hasn't eaten any of the green peppers and asks him about it. He admits that he doesn't like green peppers. With a teasing tone, Dahlia tells him most children don't like green peppers. Hearing this, Wolf quickly starts eating all the peppers. Dahlia tries to stop him, but he insists on eating every single one. Suddenly, he realizes he's eaten them all. Dahlia tells him that people's tastes change over time, so something he didn't like before might now taste delicious. Wolf agrees, saying that the peppers were indeed tasty and that he had missed out on enjoying them before. After finishing their meal, they decide to start making another magical sword. Wolf excitedly says that he's been looking forward to this moment. Dahlia asks him to separate the parts of the sword and wonders aloud which enchantment would be best for the blade, a spell for durability or one for permanent sharpness. Wolf replies that since short sword blades are usually thicker, the permanent sharpness spell would be the better choice. Dahlia then begins enchanting the sword, applying all the necessary magical elements until the sword is complete. She also enchants the scabbard, and Wolf comments that the scabbard seems to be absorbing more magic than the other parts. Dahlia explains that adding a magic stone to the scabbard would make it unusable, and that she extracts magic from the stones and infuses it into the scabbard, which takes more time. She adds that she isn't very skilled at reducing weight, but her father was an expert at it. She recalls how her father used to do it when she was a child. After they finish crafting the sword, Wolf checks on Dahlia, asking if she's tired. She assures him that she's fine, but admits that assembling all the parts of the sword takes physical strength. She then asks him to put the sword together. Wolf says that if this is the final weight, it's manageable. However, when he tries to sheathe the sword, it unexpectedly jumps out of his hand. Wolf remarks that he never imagined the parts wouldn't fit together again. They realize that there might be another reason why people haven't successfully made this before. It could be an issue with magical compatibility, or perhaps the magic alters the materials in some way. They conclude that they'll have to experiment with several other methods. They acknowledge that their journey to create an extraordinary magical sword has just begun. They continue discussing, wondering if the issue is indeed magical compatibility. If so, they ponder whether different types of magic are incompatible with each other. They start thinking that maybe they just need to add a material that separates each type of magic from the other. Dahlia suddenly recalls a material that's resistant to fire, water, and wind, and is also difficult to remove. She exclaims that this material is the solution: black slime powder. She mentions that these gloves can withstand acid as well. Wolf tells her that if anything goes wrong, he'll use his strength to take her to the hospital immediately. Dahlia begins applying the black slime powder to the sword parts and asks Wolf to assemble them again. As he does so, they successfully complete the magical dagger. They comment that it looks somewhat demonic but also impressive, like something a demon king's minion or a powerful knight might carry. Wolf remarks that it's now much easier to handle, and all types of magic work well with it. However, when he holds the dagger, he notices his gloves starting to disintegrate due to the dagger's powerful magic. Dahlia warns him that one more mistake could melt his hand. When they place a piece of meat on the blade, it wilts instantly. They then move on to the next experiment. Wolf suggests using stronger gloves, thinking they might withstand the magic, but Dahlia insists on placing the dagger in a magic sealing box and having a specialist dispose of it. Wolf, however, wants to test it on a monster first. He acknowledges the danger but wants to keep the dagger sealed in the box for a while, as it's their first magical sword, and he wishes to hold on to it as a memento. Dahlia agrees, saying they'll call it the Demon King's Minion Short Sword. They drink juice together, and Wolf tells her that their next meeting will be after his upcoming campaign. He mentions that in 2 days, they'll begin their annual frog hunt, as is usual for this time of year. There were around 500 of them last year, but what's worse is the heat. Even though summer has just begun, the lack of wind in the swamp makes the temperature unbearable. Since they use fire magic in battle, their shoes become very wet and the smell is terrible, causing many soldiers to suffer from fungal infections. Dahlia asks why they don't use drying magic on their damp shoes. Wolf responds that unfortunately they don't. Instead, they use hardening magic because they never know what they might step on. As Wolf is about to leave, Dahlia gives him a bag. He tells her that he'll pay her for it next time, but she asks him to instead give her a report on how the prototype performs. Wolf agrees, saying, "All right, dear, I'll write you a detailed report you can rely on." He then smiles slightly at her and leaves. Ends with a great battle where Wolf was part of the army fighting against the wild savage frogs. It was a very tough day, and this battle lasted about 4 hours. At night, the weather was bitterly cold. Everyone was talking to Wolf, and one of them said, "I couldn't get rid of all the worries about foot fungus." Wolf was noting down everything they said as they praised the socks he had distributed to them. The socks didn't slip even when they stepped on them, and their feet didn't develop any allergies or itchiness. They were truly exceptional. However, some of them needed reinforcement at the heel, and if the pair could reach the knee, that would be excellent. Wolf was writing these notes to tell Dahlia about them. They also wanted different sizes. The scene then shifts to Wolf when he was with Dahlia, asking her for a lot of socks and dried inner soles, as he wanted to order them immediately. Dahlia was surprised and said to him, "So quickly. I only asked you for a report on your experience," he replied. "I have the report with me too." Then he gave her most of the papers except the last one, which was their action plan. He then told her that many of the men were worried about foot fungus, especially in the afternoon when it was extremely hot and they sweated a lot. But after trying those socks, they thanked her greatly and asked for more. This report is full of praise for the idea and the skill that made it a reality. Dahlia asked him, "Is this your handwriting, Wolf?" He told her that as the representative of the unit, they allowed him to record the opinions that everyone agreed upon. She said to him, "Those are really a lot of requests, but how can I fulfill all of them? I think I'll go to the trade guild tomorrow to ask her advice." Wolf told her that he would accompany her because his commander wanted the order as soon as possible. Wolf wanted to help in any way possible. "I'll accompany you everywhere, even though this might have serious consequences, as it could lead to rumors about inappropriate behavior between us, like rumors of a relationship between us. So, it might be better for me to maintain a certain distance when we're in public places so that no one talks about us." She told him that she didn't care about these things and didn't care about people's opinions of her. She knew herself well, and most people knew she was a girl of good reputation and also recognized her achievements. "But if you prefer to change the way we interact with each other, Wolf, then I have no right to stop you. Maybe that's what you want to do, so don't hesitate to tell me." He said to her, "I'm sorry, Dahlia. I can't change our relationship and I don't want to. But I'm very worried about you and I don't want anyone to speak badly of you." Dahlia was very happy and said to him, "In that case, you should be very close to me, as I enjoy working with you. I will do my best to ensure that our friendship isn't a source of embarrassment for you." Guido sitting with Wilfried, where they were talking about matters concerning the city. Guido mentions that his father was summoned to the royal court early in the morning, but he was very upset because he couldn't see Wilfried. He wasn't sure if he could fulfill his role in his absence. Wilfried replied that he wouldn't mind going in his place. He wanted to talk to him because he had recently become a guarantor for the Rossetti Company and would soon start working with the monster suppression forces. Guido was very happy because his brother Wilfried had formed great connections. He then told him that their father asked him to inform Wilfried that the entire villa and all its employees were at his disposal, to be used as he wishes. He wouldn't mind at all if he used them to assist the Rossetti Company. Also, if he needed water or ice stones, he could help him, and he asked him to let him know if he encountered any difficulty with anything else. Guido continued, saying he had heard that this was the first time Wilfried tried to reach out to their father because he had been bothered and couldn't solve his problem. Wilfried then said he doesn't think they have memories of having spoken together. His father allowed him to live without worrying about food, shelter, and clothing, and he also allowed him to join the monster suppression forces, which was more than enough for him. Guido then asked if Wilfried was thinking of leaving the Scalafrado family in the future. Wilfried replied that he wanted to be independent someday, but that this company had nothing to do with that. Guido then asked if he had ever thought about working outside the monster suppression forces. Wilfried answered that he hadn't thought about that before. Guido understood from this that Wilfried didn't intend to withdraw from the Scarlet Shields. Wilfried got annoyed because Guido was interfering in everything and treating him like an older brother. He then asked him why he was doing this. Guido apologized and told him he knew he was avoiding him a lot. He might be using the lack of opportunities to talk as an excuse to escape from him until now. Guido then remembered when he was with his mother in the carriage while they were wandering in the forest when many bandits attacked them. He wanted to go out to kill them, but his mother didn't want him to leave her so he wouldn't get hurt. At that moment, Wilfried and his men arrived. When Wilfried saw them, he rushed to fight them, and indeed, Wilfried killed them all. Then we return to the present where Guido tells Wilfried that he regrets what happened all this time. He says that if Wilfried and Lady Vanessa hadn't protected him that day, both he and his mother would be dead now. However, he couldn't save Vanessa and his mother. He apologizes to him for what happened, and his brother asks him to raise his head because there's nothing to apologize for. Guido replies that if he had fought alongside him, maybe Lady Vanessa wouldn't have died. He feels he should have died to protect both him and Lady Vanessa. Wilfried asks him not to say such things ever again, and that he should repay Lady Vanessa properly, so he wants him to take back his words. Guido apologizes to him and tells him that he takes back what he said. He then tells him that he feels like Wilfried hates him, and that avoiding him was only natural. Wilfried replies that he never hated him and never tried to avoid him. They just never had the chance to meet. Guido continues talking about what happened in the past with his mother, telling him that on that day, he froze in fear when he decided to fight. He clung to his spot to protect his mother and couldn't leave her side. When he got out of the carriage, everything was over, thanks to Wilfried and Lady Vanessa. He then says that he still sees Lady Vanessa and the knights who died in his dreams to this day. Wilfried is surprised because he still dreams of them too. He tells Guido that the same thing happens to him and that they need to find a way to avoid this. His brother laughs with him and tells him he should get married. He hasn't been able to get rid of these dreams completely, but he thinks it would certainly help him. Then, Guido asks Wilfried to let him make up for what happened before. If anything comes up related to work or the manor, he should come to him right away. Wilfried thanks him for that, telling him he doesn't know much about business relations, but appreciates his advice regarding it and that he is ready to help him. I would like to request materials used for mixing items with magic, Guido replied. I will provide you with all the gene crystals I can, and if I find anything, I will send it to you quickly. In the meantime, I think you should try talking to our father. I feel bad that I only visit him a few times a year, and I believe our father visits Lady Vanessa's grave every month. Wolf thought to himself, I pray that your dreams about that day disappear. The nightmares that disturbed my sleep for so many years have not returned even once since the day I met her. At night, we see Dahlia using her magic on the necklace to increase its durability, and she succeeds. Then we see Wolf outside Dahlia's house. Dahlia comes out to greet him, and he apologizes for coming without an appointment. He gives her his mother's book, which contains her notes on the etiquette of conversation among nobles and will be very useful to her. They go inside the house, and Wolf notices Dahlia's leg injury. He asks her who did this to her and sees a bruise on her face and a medical bandage on her neck. Dahlia tells him that it has nothing to do with anyone else. She was trying to blend magic using Skull and was thrown backward due to the shock of the magic. Wolf feels reassured, and they enter the house. She tells him that she infused the bracelet with Skull's fang, as its fangs have an effect on wind magic. But when used as a forging material, it requires an enormous amount of magical energy. She tried it secretly before and severely drained her magic, almost losing consciousness. Despite that, she repeated the reckless act. But that was 4 years ago, and it wasn't as dangerous as now. She conducted that experiment in her room where, when she began blending her magic with the bracelet, she felt it was easier than before. Then, suddenly, the feeling changed, as if her magic was being drained. After succeeding, she wore the bracelet and transferred some magic to it, which led to her being slammed to the ground and suffering these injuries. Either drink a potion or go to the church immediately. Dahlia tells him it is not as serious as he thinks, and before enchanting the bracelet, she made that necklace thanks to the unicorn's ability. Wolf asks her to come with him somewhere. Dahlia gets scared and tells him she will drink the potion, and she does so. Wolf tells her that he will bring more next time. Dahlia apologizes to him for making him worry, and Wolf tells her not to apologize but to be more careful next time. Then he asks her what she will do with this bracelet. She tells him she will keep it because adding any kind of magic to it would lead to great danger. Then Wolf asks her to sell it to him because he wants to try it for some time. With Dahlia telling Wolf that she is confident the bracelet will be safe with him, and she asks him to take good care of it. Wolf asks her if applying a blood pact to the bracelet will help him fly. Dahlia tells him that he can do that without external magic energy. Wolf asks her to do it for him, and in return for the bracelet, he will train his physical abilities to make good use of it. Currently, all he can do is jump up and down, but if he uses reinforcement magic, he'll be fine even if he falls. Dahlia tells him she can't use him as a test subject, but Wolf says he wants to understand how the bracelet works. Additionally, they will test the interaction between reinforcement magic and Skull's fangs. Dahlia agrees to the experiment but says she won't take payment for the bracelet. The experiment begins, and we see Wolf dropping a drop of his blood on the bracelet. Dahlia uses her magic, causing the blood to merge with the bracelet. She hands it back to Wolf, telling him that it is now his. He puts it on, thanks her, and they head outside to test it. When Wolf tries to fly, he succeeds, telling Dahlia it's so much fun, and he feels stronger, able to jump easily. He continues flying again and again. Dahlia tells him to stop and land before someone sees him. Wolf lands and asks Dahlia to sell him the bracelet officially. Dahlia says the bracelet is a token of gratitude since he became a guarantor for her company, which helped her achieve impossible things. Wolf tells her that in that case it would be a pure loss for her. Dahlia then asks for 2 potions in return, and Wolf advises her not to conduct dangerous experiments alone, as it would be terrible if something happened to her. Dahlia agrees, saying Wolf is right, and adds that the front gate can only be opened by those who are magically registered. Wolf suggests she register him as well if she doesn't mind, and Dahlia agrees, saying it would make her feel more secure. We then see Dahlia inside the house, registering Wolf on the screen. Wolf places his hands on the magical screen, and with that, he is now registered as a mage. He thanks Dahlia, and she tells him she feels safe now because if something bad happens to her, the guards will notify Wolf immediately. Dahlia then opens a book on noble etiquette and starts reading out loud the instructions on how to deal with nobles. Wolf interrupts her, asking her to stop reading out loud, and Dahlia apologizes. With Dahlia and her friend riding in a carriage. He asks her if she's nervous, and she admits she's a little anxious, but he seems calm and composed. He reassures her that she will do well on this mission because he has faith in her. As they continue their journey, they arrive at the castle. Dahlia enters and is greeted by a young woman who tells her to wait in a room until a companion arrives to assist her in suppressing monsters. Dahlia enters the room and waits, surprised when Wolf enters and tells her he will be her companion. They board the carriage, and Wolf mentions that he learned that the commander had summoned her to the castle only that morning. Had he known earlier, he would have sent a messenger. Dahlia asks if he knows the reason for the summon, and Wolf explains that the commander wants to express his gratitude for the socks and inner shoes she made. Dahlia relaxes slightly, and soon the carriage stops. Wolf says, "Welcome, Miss Dahlia, to the monster suppression forces." The scene shifts to inside the castle, where Dahlia introduces herself to the attendees as Miss Dahlia Rossetti, representing the Rossetti Company. She thanks the commander for inviting her. The commander introduces himself as Grat Bartoloni, a knight of Ordini and leader of the monster suppression forces. He tells her that the men with him are the ones who tested the 5-toe socks and drying shoes, and they have all come to thank her. Dahlia is deeply honored and presents them with the socks and drying shoes, which are now being mass-produced, and she promises to send the finished products later as a token of appreciation. As they eat and drink tea, one of the members comments that it's the first time he's heard of her company, asking when it was established. Dahlia explains that the company was founded quite recently, surprising him given the high quality of the products despite its short existence. The commander then asks if the methods Dahlia mentioned for combating foot fungus are truly effective. Dahlia assures him they are, explaining that once the fungus is gone, the socks act as a shield to prevent recurrence. However, she advises them to wash their feet thoroughly with soap and water, dry them well, especially between the toes, apply medication, and allow it to dry before wearing clean shoes, as the fungus can remain in old shoes. Everyone is shocked because they have been wearing their old shoes for extended periods. One member asks about sharing battlefield boots. Dahlia advises against it, warning that even if someone doesn't show symptoms of the infection, they could still carry it. Similarly, some infected individuals might not display ulcers or itching, but still be in the early stages of the infection. And foot fungus can spread in communal living conditions. She emphasizes the importance of preventive measures, not just with shoes, but also with anything that touches bare feet, like floor rugs or shared towels, as they could also spread the infection. The commander becomes alarmed and orders his men to enter the castle and burn all the rugs. Dahlia quickly interjects, saying they only need to wash them properly, and that would be sufficient. If they wash the rugs well and stop sharing them, no infection will spread. However, the commander refuses, insisting that he wants to eliminate the evil from its root, and orders the rugs and towels to be burned. Wolf then suggests a more drastic solution. They should cut off their feet and go to the church to have them renewed. The commander agrees, leaving Dahlia horrified, and she screams that they mustn't do such a bizarre thing, urging them to use preventive measures instead. Wolf turns to Dahlia apologizing, saying she must have suffered a lot because of all this, mentioning the 5-toe socks and drying soles that he should have realized earlier. Dahlia assures him that it's not like that at all. Wolf tells her not to worry, and that he won't tell anyone, but Dahlia yells. That's not the issue, frustrated that he completely misunderstands the situation. The commander then tells Wolf that no matter how close he is to Dahlia, he shouldn't have said what he did earlier. Another member suggests they might have been overly enthusiastic with their questions, but it's good that they asked, because otherwise they would have continued sharing shoes and towels. The commander orders that no one speak of what Dahlia said ever again. It will be their secret. He also tells Wolf to think before he speaks next time, stating that if he were in Dahlia's place, he would have been devastated and that she must have been upset by his words. He advises Wolf to go apologize to her and bring a gift, like flowers or sweets. The scene shifts to Wolf buying flowers, and members of the castle gossiping about his relationship with Dahlia. The commander instructs them not to speak of this matter again. The scene then transitions to Dahlia in her room. There's a knock at the door, and she opens it to find Wolf holding a beautiful bouquet of flowers, apologizing for what he did. Dahlia tells him that she wasn't upset this time, but if he gives others the impression that she has foot fungus again, she'll never forgive him. Wolf gives her sweets, and she thanks him, inviting him to enjoy them together. As they eat, Wolf asks her what kinds of sweets she likes. Dahlia responds that she loves ice cream and cheesecake, while Wolf shares that he enjoys butter salt cookies, shrimp crackers, and zabagline. Wolf also asks about her favorite flowers. Dahlia says she loves all flowers, but prefers those with beautiful scents, especially gardenias. Wolf asks if she likes dahlias, and Dahlia responds that she certainly does, as she was named after them by her father. Dahlia then offers him a drink, and they drink together, enjoying their time. Wolf mentions that he and his friends often drink during work, and once they've had enough, they start sharing personal matters with each other, but they never reveal their secrets to outsiders. He suggests that they do the same and talk about their private matters. Dahlia agrees, and they begin to... Dahlia opens up, revealing that her mother left to live with her parents to give birth to her and never told her father. After she was born, her mother gave her to her father and married another man, so Dahlia never lived with her. Wolf apologizes for making her share something so personal, but Dahlia says she's happy to share such things with him. She continues, saying that her mother loved her father enough to push him to marry her, but her birth shattered that love. However, her father never spoke ill of her mother. Dahlia recalls a time when she saw her father crying at the table until he fell asleep and found a letter from her mother. By then, her mother had died of an illness, and a funeral was held for her. Dahlia almost tore up the letter but decided against it, fearing that her father might still love her mother and want to keep the letter. After finishing her story, Wolf starts sharing his. His mother was a knight who guarded a duke's wife, but because of her beauty, she became the duke's wife and gave birth to him. Wolf learned swordsmanship from her before joining the monster suppression forces, eventually reaching his current position. When he was 10, their village was attacked, resulting in the death of 20 people, including his mother. Both he and his older brother survived, but after being treated at the church, they returned to the castle. His brother passed away later, and people harassed Wolf, which is why he wants a magical sword. Because he's weak and can't use magic efficiently, so he needs a magical sword. Ever since then, He's been haunted by nightmares of his mother's death. Dahlia, excited, tells Wolf that she must develop a magical sword for him. She also tells him that she wants to visit her father's grave because there's so much she wants to tell him about her nightmares, like how she dreams of collapsing at her desk and dying from exhaustion. Wolf promises to come and save her from that nightmare next time, but suggests they think of creating a magical device to help him do that. Dahlia says that in her dream, the last thing she sees is her desk, where she falls asleep from exhaustion. Wolf reassures her that from now on, they'll always stay together and never part. Dahlia thanks him for that. And that's how our episode ends today. To follow more episodes, please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell.
Wolf says he hasn't been here in a long time when Dahlia greets him at the start of the episode. When Dahlia asks him about his trip, he says that a group of harpy monsters had been chasing sheep from the village next door. While they were hunting those monsters, some kids got hurt, but in the end, everything turned out okay. Then Dahlia asks Wolf if the hurt kids are okay. Wolf tells her that all of the harm the harpy monsters did was healed by magic. Another thing he tells her is that the bracelet she gave him helped him reach the kidnapped children in time. Without it, he wouldn't have been able to. Dahlia is glad to hear that and suggests that they keep working on the model of the magic sword. Last time, the black slime made the sword short enough that they couldn't hold it with their bare hands. This time they'll use earth magic, which is yellow slime. Wolf tells her that yellow slime will melt metal over time. Dahlia agrees, but she says that unlike black slime, yellow slime loses its ability to corrode once it is ground up. During the experiment, she tells him to put on a mask and gloves. Wolf stirs the yellow slime around in the water while Dahlia imbues the sword with magic to start the experiment. When the experiment is over, they pull out a sword. Wolf remarks that the guard doesn't keep water out, and the scabbard isn't light. He thinks it's because the earth magic knocked out everything when it was put into the sword. They know their first attempt didn't work and that they need to try again with different materials. Dahlia says that the next time you should use a unicorn horn and sprinkle some of its powder on top. Wolf tells her that their first attempt at making the sword wasn't a total failure. Even though it was their first time, they were able to make, put together, and turn it on, if all they could do was touch the sword with their bare hands. Then their plan wasn't completely wrong. But he still says there were safety issues. Where? Then Dahlia suggests that the yellow slime fix be used on the Demon King's short sword. The sword is put in the yellow slime solution. Once it's done, a piece of meat is put on it to see if it might be safe to touch. Wolf picks up the sword and thinks it's great when nothing happens to the meat. He tells Dahlia that it's okay because the sword doesn't get wet and the scabbard is very light. They finally got their experiment to work. Dahlia suggests that you do the same thing with a long sword. The sword starts moving on its own all of a sudden, like it's alive. Dahlia says this is because the different kinds of magic used are at odds with each other. Wolf wants to know if magical objects can get a spirit of their own. Dahlia says that she has heard similar stories from other people but doesn't believe them. Then we see Dahlia with a box in her hand. Wolf wants to know what it is. She tells him it's scales from a mirror snake, which can fool the eye. A grateful customer sent it to her as a thank you for her magical goods. She thinks it comes from a rainbow snake, which is a very rare monster because of its beautiful shimmer. People say that a lamp with one of its scales in it can help people see into the future, which can help them avoid monsters. Dahlia thinks about what she can do with it to make her magic work better. As soon as she touches it, the stone melts and a bright light shines through it. Then we see Dahlia in a pretty dress with a lot of people around her. Wolf comes up to her and asks her to dance. They start to dance together because they are both happy. All of a sudden, we come back to the real world and see them both on the ground. It dawns on them that they were dreaming when they wake up, but they are still not sure what happened. Dahlia believes that what they just saw might have been a glimpse of the future if this is a rainbow snake scale and not a mirror snake scale. Wolf asks her to dance with him again, but Dahlia says it was all in her head and turns him down. Wolf is adamant that it was a real vision of the future. Wolf leaves the tower later that night and goes back home. We see Dahlia with Ivano and Gabriella in the morning. Gabriella asks Dahlia about her relationship with Wolf. Dahlia tells her that everything is fine between them. Then Gabriella asks Dahlia if Wolf has proposed to her. Dahlia says she likes the idea of marriage but isn't thinking about love or marriage right now. Gabriella tells her that she should say yes if Wolf does propose. She leaves, and Ivano asks Gabriella if the son of an earl could ask the daughter of a merchant family to marry him if he moved to town. It would be hard, especially since his family is about to become a marquis family. People will be angry and rude to the woman because they are jealous. Wolf would be able to marry the merchant if she grew her business and became an official supplier to the palace, if she got a high-ranking noble as a patron, or if she became a baroness. Ivano asked Gabriella this question. In that case, Gabriella said she thought it would be possible. Ivano replied that he thought that was the very least goal he could set for the company. The scene then changes to Dahlia as she meets her friends at the tavern. She says she's sorry she's late, and her friend Irma tells her she looks beautiful now. Irma tells Dahlia that she looks very elegant, and Dahlia thanks her for the compliment. Irma is thrilled when she tells everyone that Marcella bought her the dress. Marcella gets a lot of compliments on how beautiful the dress is. As they eat, Dahlia talks to them and thanks them for being there for her when she broke off her engagement and for guaranteeing her loan. They also helped sell their new socks, she says. Irma tells them that they didn't do much and that the fact that they were her guarantors also helped them. Thanks to Dahlia, Lucia was able to quickly secure the necessary funds for her workshop. Dahlia then suggests that, in celebration of the moment, they should eat and drink as much as they like in honor of the founding of Rusty Company, Irma's beauty salon, and the prosperity of Lucia's workshop. Everyone continues eating and drinking until they finish the meal. Afterward, Dahlia returns to her room to sleep and dreams of her father from when she was little. They talk for a bit, and he reflects on how he thinks of things and then creates them. But he never could see the end of it all. However, he is confident that his daughter will be able to do so. Dahlia then asks him about the magical device he made, but at that moment she wakes from her dream. Early the next morning, Dahlia goes with Wolf to the cemetery to visit their parents' graves. Wolf gives her her bouquet of flowers, and when they arrive at the cemetery, they separate to visit their respective graves. We then see Wolf standing in front of his mother's grave, placing the bouquet on it. He talks to her, saying, "I missed you so much. I spoke to my older brother Guido a few days ago. If I could talk to you, I'm sure you would scold me. I met a friend whom I want to protect. She saved me from my aimless wandering. She made magical weapons to protect me, but now all I do is cause her trouble. I hope that one day I can protect her." We then see Dahlia at her father's grave saying, "The relationship between Tobias and me has ended, but if you saw how things turned out, I'm sure you wouldn't be angry with me. I founded the Rusty Company and Mr. Ivano has joined the company, helping me a lot. I even managed to visit the palace. It seems that my first products were the 5-toed socks and the drying slippers, but people are very satisfied with them. I originally made them for you. I didn't know that you had developed a habit of making people owe you favors, like the head of the Merchant Guild Gabriella and Mr. Oswald. There may even be others I don't know about. Bap, you were always so laid back and indifferent about everything. Acting nobly without my knowledge wasn't fair." She thanks her father and cries a lot. The scene then shifts back to Wolf, who says to his mother, "You once asked me what kind of knight I wanted to become. I always thought you were asking about speed, strength, or fighting style. What I want is to be a knight who can protect those he cares about. That might be the wrong answer for a knight, but it's the wish I desire." He pulls out her sword and says, "When someone dies protecting another, they continue to protect the ones they love even after death. I chose to believe that, and I can protect myself." Then the scene moves to Dahlia, who says to her father, "I'm glad you always took care of me. If that continues, I'll always be the daughter you worried about, not a magical craftswoman. I lack magical power and technical skills, but I want to become a magical craftswoman even better than you were. I now have dear friends who support me, and I'm no longer alone, so I know I'll be okay, and one day I'll be an even better magical craftswoman than you were." After that, she meets Wolf, and he asks her where she's going. She responds, "I'm going to the Merchant Guild. I can't take anything that might be mistaken for a monster there," Wolf says to her. "People might start calling it the creeping magic sword. Someone might even call one of us the Demon King since we've created such a monster." And with that, this anime comes to an end. Stay tuned for more new anime, and don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you can receive all the latest updates.